Uh, you're watching the proper video if you've ever wondered how much Tesla stock you'll need to retire and begin living the good life. That's exactly what we'll be talking about today. Please continue to watch and remember to subscribe to our channel and give a like. Now let's begin this video. Over $5,000 is the average monthly expense in North America. That works out to $6,000 annually. That makes sense for a family of two, as you are living with your spouse or significant other. Let's be selfish for the sake of this video, though, and assume you choose to retire alone. That is a whole unrelated tale. It comes out to just over $3,000 per month on average. For the sake of simplicity, let's choose $3,217, which is almost $4,000 each year. It's all right. Now, multiplying that monthly expenditure of $32,200 by the 3% average inflation rate until 2030, and we arrive at $4,020. However, let's imagine that you want to have some fun rather than lead a minimal lifestyle. The S&P 500 yields 8 to 10% yearly, but let's be cautious and estimate 7%. Given that the SPP has a yearly return of 7, your goal is to withdraw $5,000 or $850,000, or you will need to sell your Tesla shares for around $850,000. It's amazing that investing that money in S&P will last you up to 50 years. 46 years are predicted by one calculator, 48 by another. We now have our monthly spending budget and the amount we need to live off of it. Knowing that the mid to late 40s is a great time frame to look at for $850,000 with an average return of 7 to retire by 2030, how many Teslas do you need? Let's find out. Complete haul. If updriving cost $8,000 in 2020 and $10,000 in 2021, it will probably cost $28. It is currently $12,000 in 2022. Based on their apparent confidence in that, it appears like Tesla is raising the price of their FSD by $2,000 a year. And this FSD will only be a money monster if it turns out to be the reality that it appears to be. They will make a lot of money. It's like a bank to them. According to certain research, if we increase the amount by $2,000 every year, 2030, we will receive $28,000 as a one-time payment by 2031. They seem to be able to reach 64, which has been demonstrated. Should that transpire, Tesla will serve as yet another source of wealth for the individual. It's merely software. It's a huge upsell, and they benefit handsomely from it. Thus, by 2030, we'll leave it at 62. The sales of the cars in FSD make up the total revenue. As of right now, any car I own that is sold here costs $50,000 due to supply and demand. It's a little bit more than that. But to be safe, let's assume that the average car sold by 2030 will cost $50,000. That will continue to be the situation. The cars and FSD make up the net income or total net income in this case. Although the actual percentage is closer to 30, the cars are listed at 25%. Profit shares will be pre-split for each vehicle sold up to 25. That amounts to $1.55 billion when they declare a stock split in June, July, or October. This number will adjust, but that's all right. The only information I have is that they will have 1.5 billion outstanding shares by 2030, which is highly improbable given that they have no incentive to dilute so many shares given their high level of profitability. In fact, they need to be paying out dividends or buying back stock, but Tesla has said that it isn't interested in doing either. 1.5 EPS is pre-split at the time of the stock split and tracks standing shares. P was maintained at 40 as realistically as feasible. However, EPS would be adjusted. I predict that Tesla's price will be less than 40 by 2030 and probably more than 50. After you've interpreted the graphic, you'll see that food and vehicle sales were the only two industries: zero energy, Tesla insurance, automated cabs, Tesla Assistant, and further initiatives. It is just based on the data that we currently have, since we need to know how much money the Tesla bot, robo-taxes, and Tesla insurance will bring in. As solar panels, we currently don't have a lot of data. But what we do have is trustworthy and dependable. Therefore, whatever you see on this page is minimum. Let's go back to the number of Tesla shares required at market to retire. If Tesla sells 20 million cars by 2030, its stock price will be approximately $450, though I find it hard to imagine that many cars, 55 million, that might be there. No automaker has ever gone to that extent. I'm not sure if Tesla can reach that goal, but if we consider that 13 million is a far more realistic number, then 55 million, we arrive at a share price of almost $13,000 with a market valuation of nearly $20 trillion. Since there are so many outstanding shares, the cap is now extremely high. On-to-market capitalization will also decrease if that happens, as I predict. But the stock prices are still quite strong. Therefore, if you want to live on $5,000 a month for the next 50 years, we need to raise $850,000 by 2030. There are just 98 shares required to achieve $800,000 by 2030. Of those, 98 shares are needed in the bear case that will only set you back slightly more than 98,000. Due to your investment of 98,000, the $98,000 will have increased to $850,000 over the next 8 years. After that, you may invest it and turn this S&P 500 to potentially yield a return of 7. That's it. You've reached retirement. If you pledge to save, invest the money instead of squandering it on unnecessary purchases, then you will need 98 shares, which is absurd. In 8 years, money will not be a concern for you. Let's look at the default scenario. You only require 79 shares. Not 78.6, and 78.6 is now unavailable, but 79 shares will set you back about 79,000. If they sell 25 million cars over the next 8 years, that's more than 10 times. And if they sell 30 million, that's 366 times. By 2030, acquiring 65K to 66,000 shares today might yield 850K. So you have already made a commitment. I have this recommendation for you. Don't log in if the market drops to 50 once more. We're not sure if it will happen in the upcoming year, 2 years, or 3, but it will probably, since the US stock market is consistently strong. It always recovers. Cars and FSD are the only things included. As I mentioned before, there's no RoboCap, Tesla. No solar energy storage, and no Tesla insurance. Right now, it's limited to these 2 items because we lack the hard data necessary to implement it. Tesla automobiles. That's sold in FSD only. Because I'm a conservative and want to see the worst case, I'm leaning towards the bear case. If I put too much stock in the best case scenario, I'll feel bad about myself and think I did something wrong. You only own 100 shares in the bear scenario. Remember that. Don't worry if it takes 8, 9, or 10 years to sell what you don't by 2030. 5 years from now, that $880,000 will be much more in value because Tesla is in the 1 decade thing and will be there for a long time. Tesla is expected to be in business for a very long period by 2050. They are who solve problems for a living, and Tesla is too valuable to fail or to allow anybody else to fail. This brings an end to our analysis of the number of shares required to retire with Tesla stock. Please remember to like and subscribe to our channel if you're a fan of Tesla and would want to see more content. We appreciate your time and hope to see you in our upcoming videos.